Matthew Holness dipped his toe into the ever-changing world of horror in 2018. Possum, a movie that wouldn't be out of place along the likes of Eraserhead or Mulholland Drive. Now, it opened to a fairly disappointing $30,000 worldwide. Was this a result of poor marketing, or was the sight of a sinister-looking hairy spider just too much to bring audiences through the door? Can you spy him deep within? Little Possum, black as sin. The movie follows Philip, a disgraced puppeteer from England that returns to his hometown after a performance that was described as scandalous. They never explain exactly what happened, but it's implied that it was related to the vile creature that Philip carries around in his leather bag. To make matters worse, upon arrival, a schoolboy is reported missing and the town immediately point their fingers towards the apparent pervert that's returned to the area. Holness intentionally leaves us in the dark about what's actually happened, leaving lead actor Sean Harris with the difficult task of appearing guilty, innocent, suspicious, confused and intrigued all at the same time, without making it clear who's to blame. Philip returns home and is greeted by his abusive uncle Morris, played by staple of British cinema Alun Armstrong, who just steals every scene that he's in.
The legs are impressive. What exactly is it?
It's a puppet.
You show that to children?
I'm destroying it.
Even the head?
The character of Morris is a gradual reveal of historical abuse with foreshadowing expertly paced throughout. On a second watch, you can see all the sinister and manipulative traits from the very first scene that were introduced to him. Masterful subtlety from Holness and Armstrong. I approve. Not to take anything away from Sean Harris, but his voice becomes too much of a mumble for my taste, purely as a viewer having difficulty hearing what he's trying to say.
We were on the marshes. Me and the other boys. We built a den. Out by the bridges there.
But in regards to the character, it does fit, so I'm willing to accept it as a must for the sake of the story. This is where the review is going to be somewhat interpretive. It's only my take on the movie. Philip's trying to destroy his puppet Possum, who's a disgusting creation made to represent the childhood abuse suffered at the hands of his uncle and the world in general. Every attempt to dispose of the puppet fails, and though he goes to bed at night free from the abomination, he wakes up the next morning to see it staring him in the face. The longer it lingers, the more insane Philip seems to become, especially in the last 20 minutes of the movie. Everything up to that point exists solely to build to that final act. It's a movie with minimal exposition, minimal dialogue in general, and mostly exists as a series of images representing something that the audience are never really given a full picture of. In every sense of the word, the movie is an interpretation, but an interpretation of what exactly is intentionally left in the minds of the viewer. I almost forgot the final character of the movie, and it's the one that actually speaks more than any of the human characters: the music. BBC's Radiophonic Workshop banded together once again to create a soundtrack that carries the picture from beginning to end. The timing and execution of the different sounds and shocks creates some of the finest jump scares that I've ever seen in a movie. Mixed with the horrendous imagery, some moments are just guaranteed to leave your skin crawling. Not to take anything away from the lead actors, but in my opinion the score by the Radiophonic Workshop's the most disturbing element of the film. The ever-present ambience leaves a feeling that darkness is always watching, and can reach a startling peak at any point. I don't want to sound like I'm overpraising the movie, because in many senses it can and will be considered boring. The lack of dialogue, interactions or even impactful scenes will often be a chore to sit through, as you find yourself eager for the film to just move on so that you can make sense of it. The bleak tone, similar to that of 1970s public information films, gives you very little in terms of visual pleasure, and every character has a certain filth to them that just makes the film seem kinda dirty to watch. It's a kind of cinema that tests the patience of the viewer. Might not be the easiest to sit through, but once finished, will be one of the most difficult to forget.